How exciting, everybody. I was getting caught up in the music there because I am so stoked. We finally had our first win and you're in race for the Future Stars Friday card specifically, the Gr2 Norfolk at Royal Ascot. And it was won by a beautiful horse named the Ridler. And I have the absolute pleasure of having his owner and breeder. How much more special does that make it? With me. And that is Steve Bradley. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Ren. Hi, folks.
Well, first of all, I have to thank you for joining me live here. I know it's a little bit late there in the UK. Have you had dinner and everything already?
That's sorted. It's still daylight. Plenty of daylight here.
There you go. Well, everybody, just so you know, this is obviously a live show. So if you want to chime in with a question about racing there across the pond and basically, I mean, anything that has to do with the industry, Steve, again, you're not just the owner of this horse, you bred him. So it really does put the emphasis there on the Breeders' Cup.
Oh, yeah. It's completely different. I mean, it's we've had winners, you've shouted them home over the line, but Ascot is so special. But to actually, been there when the colt was mated, when he was born, and followed him through. And we got some amazing pictures of him right through his growing up stages, and absolutely fantastic.
I have this picture of him with his dam, Colorado, who, by the way, dear goodness, how beautiful is she? Looks like she's been dipped in paint.
And that's at the National Stud in Newmarket, England, Renee.
Oh, wow. I mean, you must have been thrilled. How did you choose Brazen Bow for her?
Well, we'd already used Poet's Voice and we had a very good horse. But we felt we wanted a bit more speed than that because Poet Voice was a miler and Brazen Bow was just the right type, really. I mean, his sire, it couldn't do anything wrong in Australia. It's a horse called I Am Invincible.
Yeah.
So, it was, as they say, a marriage made in heaven. Well, it is now.
Oh, gosh, I love it. And so the name, the Ridler, we see there that marking on his face. And I'll pop this up one more time so people can get a good look.
Well, it's the Batman comics all over, isn't it?
Yes.
You look at the Riddler's costumes, and I think of the green one, where he's got 1,000 question marks on it, and loads of them are reversed. So you just look at that, and it's a no-brainer, really.
Oh, I love it. Well, I was actually reading an article about you and your family and your involvement with the industry, and it mentioned that your son Lee is actually the big comic book fan, right?
He's the Marvel Comics man, yeah.
And you were talking about how the reason he has 1D in his name is because?
Well, Weatherby's are very sensitive in guarding the stud book, and I understand that. So you can't have any rude or vulgar names or anything, which is fantastic. But they're also looking at the copyright angle as well. So if we'd have gone in there, it's like calling a horse Superman or Batman, isn't it? We'd have had Marvel Comics after us straight away. And as I said in the interview, I think we've got a few bob more than me. So litigation wouldn't have been a great idea. So we went for the 1D.
Well, I think as the article that I was reading pointed out, American Pharaoh, I mean, Pharaoh was spelled differently. Yep. So it worked out fine for him as that article addressed. So here's one of the things that I also find so compelling about you and with this horse. So trained by Richard Fahey, and he won this race last year with Perfect Power. And we also saw Perfect Power go on to win the Commonwealth Cup there at Royal Ascot. But your horse, I don't think it was fair at all. He was completely overlooked in terms of the odds. 50-1 he went off, which is the biggest odds in the history of this race. Were you surprised? Did you absolutely go forward and take advantage of what they were overlooking yourself, pari-mutually speaking?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, some friends actually had 80-1 for him. And somebody said that we have a betting exchanger called Betfair. They were offering 107-1. But his price was ridiculous because his race before, he had a poor stalls draw. He got pushed out straight away, and he got beaten 1.5 lengths by a horse. And the jockey came off, and Paul said, we've won that race. He would have won. And I think a lot of good judges overlooked that. but he
Yeah.
was never 50 to 1. I mean, I would have thought a fair price was anywhere between 15 and 20 to 1, to be honest with you. But, well, as Richard said, we're not complaining. We'll take the odds.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, I believe in that race, the 2-year-old trophy conditions race, which was there at Beverly. 3/4 a length off your winner, who was Chateau. Chateau put in a good performance there at Royal Ascot in the Windsor Castle 4th. Rogue Spirit, I believe, was the next out winner. So, yeah, for somebody who also bets, I'm a public handicapper in addition to doing this. To me, I'm looking at this, and this horse made a ton of sense. So, again, I hope you and your friends all took advantage of that at the windows there.
Absolutely, and the form is even better than that, because when he won his race at Ripon, his second race, the
Yes.
filly finished third. She's come out and she got placed in a Group 3 in France on the weekend. So it's all starting to stack up then, yeah.
Oh, I love it. And especially also we have to be fair when we are looking at these horses. They are still just 2 years old. They look big, they look imposing, but at the same time, they mentally still have so much more maturity to go through. Truman wants to say hello.
Oh yeah,
Hi,
yeah.
Truman.
I know.
Um, and it's remarkable to me that people oftentimes we're seeing look at the past performances and we kind of want to just crunch the data and put it out as if these horses are machines.
They are. And the thing is, if the horse is good enough, I don't know if you saw another race at Ascot for 2-year-olds on Saturday. It's called the Chesham Stakes.
Yeah.
And the horse that won that had never run before. It was first time out, 40 to 1,
Yeah.
and he absolutely sailed in. So yes, it does happen. But even the best judges don't often look in the right places, do they?
No, but it looked to me based on the social media posts that I was seeing regarding the Riddler that you all kind of knew that this horse was poised for a big run. There was this great post from, let's see here, Allie, who goes
Yeah,
by Fluffy Pickle. She says, "Can't wait for everyone at Royal Ascot to fall in love with the Riddler today. He is a total beaut. Safe
yeah.
home all, Team Fahey." I mean, that's pretty confident, right?
Yeah, and I did a short piece with a lady called Aileen Crowe, who works for the
Yes,
Racing Post, two
that's
days before.
yes.
And, Aileen was on board because I was quite upbeat. And, as I said to Paul Hannigan before he left the paddock, I said, look, Paul, riding for a place, anything else is a bonus. And, it paid off.
Oh my gosh, it sure did. I'm going to show the actual replay of the race, but before we do that, just the excitement here from Richard Fahey's own Twitter account there, talking about powerhouse performance, giving also credit to Paul Hannigan, jockey, had last Haley Irvine. And if we can make these pictures a little bit bigger, there you all are. Uh,
Amazing. Amazing.
right? How surreal was it for you?
Well, the thing is, we didn't go to the racetrack to watch the race. We stayed in the paddock and watched it on a big screen TV. So it was nice. We were all together. We,
Oh,
we
wow.
were all we were once he came up into the front line, we were
You
all
and your
absolutely
son?
going mad and just watching it, absolutely. And I mean, we were hysterical actually, and I think the TV cameras caught that as well.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's take it back before we watch this race because we want to tell the whole story. What sparked your love of thoroughbred horse racing?
Well, like you mentioned earlier, I was brought up on a farm as a youngster. It wasn't a particularly big farm, but there were always horses around, especially lots of ponies, so it was rough and tumble. And then I graduated and obviously started working in the financial services industry. But throughout, wherever I've been able to afford it as a luxury, I've tried to buy legs in horses or parts of syndicates. And, some of them have been okay, nothing to this level. And then I was lucky enough that a company had started 25 years ago, which is a financial services group dealing with property insurance online. Absolutely went from strength to strength. And I'd sold it just over 3 years ago now to a company, well, a UK company, but the finances were either coming from Goldman Sachs or they were coming from the Carlyle Group. And that's allowed me to, I'd already started building it up a bit more, but that allowed me to take it to a different level, which is where we are now. But that's a different level. But this guy and his family have taken us to a different planet, I think.
Oh my goodness. Well, do you remember? when do you remember when they said we're going to take this horse for Royal Ascot? Like, I mean, I would have to imagine if you're going to go, you're going with intent.
His second run, I mean, the way he performed on his second run, the track in question, Ripon, is quite tricky for a young horse because along the way, every couple of 100 yards, there's a few speed bumps or rises in the ground, and he handled that well. And we made a decision then we're coming back here in 3 weeks' time, and he just sailed away. And after that, with his physique and everything, he looked like a 3-year-old racing against 2-year-olds. And we thought we've got to do something with this lad. And we were talking about the Ascot then. We hadn't decided on the race because originally he was entered for the Coventry Stakes as well, which is run on the Tuesday. Yeah. And that was our first priority. But the more we chatted it through with Richard and Paul and Robin, who's Richard's assistant, we were looking then. And of course, Richard did have the anti-post favourite for the Norfolk Stakes, a horse called Clear Point.
Yes.
He got taken out at the 11th minute because of a poor scope, and we just decided then, it's Ascot isn't 5 furlongs. It takes a good horse to get 5 there, and people don't realise how much it inclines in the last 200 yards, but it's almost on a par with like a 6 furlong normal track. And I mean, that's when he came into his own. The last 200 yards, he just said, "Thank you very much, I'm off,"
Well, you know what? Here's what we'll do. Let's watch the race, and then we'll talk about what plans are going forward. But before we do that, we've got another hello.
I should say I've watched it about 350 times already.
Okay, well then perfect, because you're going to be able to take us completely through it, because I'm going to mute it. I'm going to mute the announcer. Sorry. And you're going to take us through this as how what you were feeling, what your impressions are. Moment by moment here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share the screen, and we'll go ahead and watch Perfect Power won last year. We're going to watch the Ridler pick up and make it back-to-back wins for Richard Fahey in the Norfolk. Here we go. See, loading up, and I'll make it full screen. And there
we go. He breaks nicely. All the speedsters have gone already. Jockey's looking for a space to tuck him in. He doesn't want to go with the early pace. Keep him handy. But he's still running on his own because he's got nothing outside him, yeah?
Yes.
And then he's just, very, very comfortable there. I think he's just come into the 3 marker now. And he's just got him in a position which is absolutely beautiful. Favourites got the lead there, going home very nicely. Paul's just about to ease him into the race a bit more. Comes up on the outside. Still looking for company on his outside, though. And here he comes now. He's just, thank you very much. I've got you all. Whoops, I think I can run out here because that's the paddock gate where I came in. No, I think I'll carry on going. Bye, boys and girls. Bye-bye. And it's a 2-length win. It's a 1 3/4 length win, isn't it? But I mean, he was just going away.
I mean, what a cool horse for a number of reasons. As you're saying, he's a big boy. That marking, you can't miss it there. No. Thankfully, he doesn't. I mean, that's a face you don't want to cover with blinkers. I mean, come on, right? What a beautiful horse. What a unique marking. The Northern Dancer there is very strong, as I was saying before. But I have to ask, obviously, because we've been talking about how this race wasn't without a bit of controversy. Was there any moment that you were wondering, oh gosh, are the stewards going to actually decide this race? But I mean, I will say, to me, here's the head on. To me, the horse had all the forward momentum. And in fact, he's maybe hindering himself. He probably could have won by even more, a greater margin had he just kept straight on.
Well, I think there's another couple of lengths in it. You're dead right. Is that if he'd have kept straight, But I think the 2 things there, he'd been lonely on his own with nothing alongside him. About just at the same time as the winning post comes up, there's a gate where they've actually come out to the underground from the stands. Okay. And I think he might have been leaning towards that. But I mean, he was never, if he'd have won by a short head, I could understand their angst. But the thing is, he's just gone away, isn't he? It's 1 3/4 lengths, which is a substantial distance in a 2-year-old 5 furlong race.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you know, and if it had gone another 500 yards, he'd have been another 5 lengths in front of them. I think it's you know, I can understand it from if I'd have finished second and third, I think we've been hard done by. But I mean, it's you know, we haven't sort of like lost the race for somebody else and won by a short head.
Now, I agree with you because I was watching the race and of course there was that moment of, oh, are they going to let this stand? And when the steward said it didn't affect the order of finish, he didn't cost them a better placing. I had to agree with that because again, he had that forward momentum, and if he himself had just stayed straight, the margin again in my mind would have been even more substantial. Jay's also saying, great to see Americans going over there trying to compete against them, but you have a serious horse. You have to have a serious horse to take there to try to beat them. Talking about sometimes we see our American contingents head over to Royal Ascot, but then he is also asking, go ahead, you can run with this one, Steve.
You're right in what you're saying. It's a hard place to compete, but it is for us in the UK as well, Rigo. I mean, and to be fair, American challengers have done remarkably well over the years. I mean, if you look at Wesley Ward's record, it's impeccable for stuff he brings to Ascot,
Yeah.
especially his sharp early 2-year-olds. You know, he preps them well, you know, you get good times on them. I mean, you know, I don't think there's a British trainer that's produced as many good 2-year-olds at Royal Ascot
Yeah, he's
as
amazing.
Wesley has probably done, to be honest. We could do with a few more guys coming over and bringing them across,
I
you
agree.
know, and, especially for some of the sprints. But we're definitely going. We're starting to map out this program now. We'll be coming to the Breeze Ups, the Breeders' Cup, and we're looking at maybe 2 or maybe 3 races in between, and that'll be it. But the program for now is aiming at the Breeders' Cup. Richard Fahey had the same plan last year for Perfect Power. It didn't come off with the Breeders' Cup, but this time we're all determined we'll be there. So see you in Churchill Downs, Kentucky.
I love it. I love it. So we had a little pregame talk before we went live with the show, and I did ask you, like Perfect Power, are we going to look at the Pre-Morny as one of those stops along the way? And your answer to that was?
Absolutely. I mean,
I
it's
love it.
you know, it's if he, I mean, part of the consideration is he's a Group 2 horse, so we'd like to go for Group 1s. There are 2 Group 1s in the UK. The Prix Mornay in France is what, well, in one, and then we come back for the Middle Park Stakes, which is at the Rowley Mile in Newmarket. Those are the 2 main targets. Because without getting into the technicalities of it, because he's won a Group 2 race now, he'll have to give a penalty away to other horses that he races against. Because I think it's a £3 without checking there. So rather than do that, you might as well go for Group 1.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Prix Mornay, Middle Park, Breeders' Cup.
And you have, we also talked about the fact you've been over here to the States. Have you ever actually been for the Breeders' Cup here in the United States?
Never. Now, much to my shame, never, never.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
Oh, yeah. I've had to work for a living, so it hasn't been possible. It's holidays and fun.
Oh my goodness, though, what a way to attend your first than having a horse actually in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Of course, it's 5.5 furlongs, $1 million purse. And they're at Keeneland. And have you watched a lot of the races from Keeneland? And what do you make of how your horse may take to the turf course there?
Well, it may be a bit of training involved because the race is going to be a 2-turn event with the shortest straight. This guy hasn't gone around turns at the moment, so if you look at what he's doing, so there's a bit of work to be done there. Prix Mornay is on a straight track, Middle Park is on a straight track, so I think we probably need to do a bit of work and take him to places like Chelmsford, which is a dirt track, but again, he can accommodate the 2 bends, and you know.
Oh yeah, well,
So
yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and that's part of it. I mean, I don't think he needs any work to make him go faster. That'll just happen naturally, I hope. But yeah, so there's a bit of work to be done there, and obviously, if you're going to come up and compete against people like Wesley and the rest of the, you know, the good 2-year-old trainers in the USA, I mean, they'll have done their work. So you know, just turning up there with a horse that's never gone around a bend wouldn't be worth turning up, would it?
No, of course. And I have to ask you, are you, apart from being involved as an owner and a breeder, are you also a fan of any horse in particular who's either currently racing or a past luminary?
Well, the first horse I saw as a young lad, it made a huge impression on me. I'm going back a long time now. We're going back to 1968. There's a horse called Bold Lad who was Ireland.
We had a Bold Lad too in the
I know
States.
you did, and they were running at the same time.
Yes.
The one in Ireland was trained by Paddy Prendergast,
Yeah.
and he was the first Irishman to become British champion trainer.
Wow.
But Bold Lad, when you see a specimen of a racehorse and you look at it and think, absolutely. And the other horse then is See the Stars.
Yeah.
I saw him race a few times. I mean, I think he still has the record for the most Group 1s won in like a 6 or 8 week period.
I think you're right. I would have to double check, but I think you're right.
Yeah, I think he had the Dante, then he won the English Derby, then he won the Irish Derby. Absolutely incredible.
Urban C. I mean, hello, right? Oh. What she's basically, when we talk about the blue hand mares in the sport, whether it's La Troyenne, whether it's Urban C, we now in the States, obviously Leslie's Lady, who is the Dam of Beholder and Into Mischief, and Mendelssohn over here. When you get that special mare, it really is quite amazing. As far as, do you still have his dam, Colorado?
Yeah. We have Colorado. We've actually got a time test yearling colt who's entered for the sales, but we're debating what to do about that.
Right.
And we've got a most gorgeous Study of Man filly. Well, Study of Man is the French Derby winner, but of course Americans will understand. He brings the Deep Impact Sunday Silence back into the UK, which is absolutely spot on. And she's been scanned at 60 days, and she's carrying a coat foal to a horse called Bated Breath with Juddmonte.
Yes.
So,
wow.
So, fingers crossed. We'll have to resist offers from Australia, because I think one of the stud farms in Australia is going to put 2 and 2 together and think, well, if we get her out there, get her covered on a Southern Cycle with Brazen Bow, and because he's doing well there, we'll have an own brother to the Ridler, won't we?
Yes, yes. So, isn't it interesting that we were discussing this before we went live too, because, and I was saying part of the reason I love doing this show is because I love being able to flesh out the stories of these horses, because we only get to enjoy them race for race, whether it's a minute, 2 minutes, and that's it. But there's just so much more that goes into it. I mean, again, what you're talking about, the breeding plans, and you bred this horse, so his story starts years ago. And how did you, to even flesh it out a bit further, how did you originally come to teaming up with Richard Fahey?
Funnily enough, I've been with Richard for about 20 years, and then I had bits of legs in this, and then I had a half share in quite a good horse, which Paul Hannigan actually rode, won some nice races for us. And then I graduated from there, then I had a couple, and I've currently got 14 with Richard, which is ranging from 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds. And of course, like with this, it's interesting with the Ridler, because Richard's assistant is a gentleman called Robin O'Ryan, and Robin is a good bloodstock spotter. And when the yearlings, or the weanlings as we call it, when they were at the National Stud, they have 2 farms in Newmarket. They have the main one, and they keep the yearlings at a place called Wick Farm, which is near Tattersalls. And Robin and I were at the sales, and I persuaded him to come and have a look at them. Anyway, we walked them out. There were 5 there for Robin to look at, and they were all homebreds. Robin looked at them with his serious eye, and his first comment was, "I'll have that one." And guess who that one was? The Ridler.
Oh my gosh.
He finished up with 3 of them, but the first one he went, so people I couldn't see it, but Robin obviously could,
He just knew.
Yeah, absolutely. And subsequently they had the Ridler, and that's what he is now.
I love that. Can you tell us, and forgive my ignorance, I've only been involved in the racing here in the States. So what if you had to look at it from both sides, what do you notice is most different from the breeding side of it as well as the racing side of it, between what we do here in the States and what you all are doing over there in Europe?
When I've seen American horses that have come to the UK, either that somebody's pinhooked a yearling at Keeneland and brought it across to our breeze up sales, and likewise this year they've had the breeze up sales in Dubai. It seems to be that the American horse is a bigger, more physical type. Certainly the colt.
Yeah.
And that's quite obvious. And you start looking at 2-year-olds, and buy some of the American Pharoah or something like that, and you look around and think, hang on, is that a 2-year-old or is it a 3-year-old? And and it's that to me is the main thing. I mean, I don't think any of the breeze up guys from the UK go to Keeneland and finish up with a small horse because
No.
they're trying to replicate it. I mean, it's and there are some nice ones. I mean, I got a really beautiful, which I purchased, a really beautiful Mendelssohn filly.
Okay,
Well,
there you go. You know Leslie's lady. Yeah.
I mean, that's a cool horse standing in the USA, and she's a beautiful stamp of a filly. But I mean, she was picked up at Keeneland because she was on the back end then, somebody must have put the lights out and said, oh, there's another one here to be sold. Oh, we'll have her.
Oh my goodness. It's just so, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's the way it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's but it's interesting as well what you said earlier about the golden hen urban sea, because in Europe now, and I've certainly bought into it as well, is that we're trying to breed 3x3 to urban sea.
Oh, really?
And it's working for some. It's a few breeders have already tapped into that, and it seems to be working. So I mean, why wouldn't you?
Well, there are a lot of people who do subscribe to the idea because I mean, for years we heard about people inbreeding, whether it's like sex line breeding or balancing it out. There's been such an emphasis on the males, but there have been a lot of people who have been talking about inbreeding and line breeding into exceptional mares. So, for example, Number to Count is one of those horses in the States where we've seen people sort of doubling up on Number to Count back in the day. But it makes a lot of sense. I mean, for her to have been so potent, and just the legacy she leaves behind with these sons, you can see why it would also be happening there. But I do love when you see these horses coming over and they're just representations of what they should look like. Going back, for example, as I was talking about when I looked at the Ridler's pedigree, because I look at a pedigree at the very least 5 generations. And just to see, Danzig, and Nurev's in there. So you've got a lot of Northern Dancer. And that's when you look at them and you can see it.
And you can. And the thing is, it's a lot of these older bloodlines. I mean, Colorado's got one. It's a family that consistently throws a good group horse. I mean, the Ridler isn't the first one because
Emirati Anna is part of the.
Well, exactly, and Emirati Anna won the top 2-year-old race, or one of them, the Gr2 Stakes at York. And exactly, and if the dams are capable of doing that, they can do it on a regular basis.
Yeah, well, that's what I earned my reputation as the petty geek because up until semi-recently, when you looked at the past performances in our daily racing form, they would just say, okay, sire is X percentage with first-time starters. The dam is dropped 2 winners from whatever. Never went any further than that. So I would be going through and looking at the pedigree with the dam in particular to find out just how consistently this female family throws quality. And I was getting some big prices by playing them that way. But now they do include that.
Well, you've got to take a risk because we've got a Galileo black type mare. We've got a Dubai black type mare. But, Colorado's gone top of the pile, hasn't she?
Right.
She's risen to the top under her own efforts, and it'll be interesting to see what we do with the time test because the yearling sales in the UK are in October, and touch wood, he'll have been a champion by then. And if he's already won another 2 Group 1s, I mean, well, it's he'll probably get withdrawn from the sale, won't he?
Yeah, I would think so. Have you yourself ever come out here for our sales?
No, I haven't. Actually, of the things I've got left on my bucket list, and I'm big friends with Freddie Tiliki, the jockey or the sports commentator, and we talked about this 6 months ago. Said the 2 things on the bucket list is the Breeders' Cup and the sales at Kentucky. Little did I know then that we'd have a horse.
Right after.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's there's one tick on the bucket list already, and the sale, because I think the sales are in September, aren't they? The yearling sales.
Well, the yearling one, yeah, but we have the sale. Let me double check because they've actually changed dates here and there, but there's generally sales right after Breeders' Cup, and so you'll at least, at the very least, let me see here. I'm picking up the sales calendar right now. We do have the September yearling sale coming up at Keeneland, the 12th through the 23rd. But as far as the rest of the, let's see here, I'm looking for the calendar, the sales calendar itself. But here it is, the November breeding stock sale, which happens after. I'm just trying to see what the date is for it, and I can't seem to find that for some reason. But generally, that's like right after the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah.
So you just stay on.
Or come out early and do the yearling sale and stay for the Breeders' Cup.
There you go. Stay for the whole thing. Yeah, why not?
And a week in Florida in between.
Oh, there you go. You can have. My mother lives in Florida. So I appreciate the Sunshine State, of course, but it's got to just, again, be a thrill. And just to put a pretty bow on it, what has this meant, not just for you, but your family? Because it looks to me like you're very close with your son, and he's very much a part of all of this with you.
Well, they're all involved. I mean, my other son couldn't make it because obviously he's got business commitments. They were there on the Saturday because the original plan was to have 2 horses. We've got another colt that was probably going to be running in the Chesham on the Saturday, but he had a poor scope, so we took him out. So all along, our plan was to have a huge family there on the Saturday, but it didn't work out. Hayley, my daughter, she's a university lecturer, so she has less time than probably Lee has. But when we can, we're there, and especially if it's a weekend meeting. I mean, it's if it's a track around London, my son and his family in London can get there. They live in Ascot, actually, my other son.
Wow.
So if it's down there, they can get there, and if it's up north or in Yorkshire, it's Lee and I and some other friends.
Gosh, I love that. You must be very. Everybody sounds like it sounds like everybody in your family has had a plan and executed it going forward, to be doing what they're doing. And I can only imagine, do they all have the same type of passion for the horses you do, or do they just appreciate and support you, knowing how much it does mean to you personally?
I think after last Thursday, their passion has gone up by over 500%. Because it's unbelievable, Ren. It's I mean, I've always had that, and like you, I've always had a good understanding of pedigrees and followed them over the years. But I think the family there, it's sort of like, they knew what I was doing, and I have bought some nice stock, both racing and for breeding as well. And they look at it and think, well, what's Dad doing then? And they've been to see the foals and the yearlings and stuff. But to get the bigger picture, I think you have to have a bigger understanding of it then, yeah? But they're getting there, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. And I mean, I got a couple of horses in shares with some friends as well, which is quite nice because that brings a different dimension to it then, it's and it's great, absolutely fantastic.
Did you bring them in to racing, or?
3 of them, yes, and 2 of them were already in bits and pieces, but I persuaded them to raise the bar a little bit.
Oh my goodness, I love it. But this is what it's about. These horses, there's no greater thrill than a horse that you have this type of connection with, crossing the wire first. And it could be in the States here, it could be a claiming race. But to do what your horse has done at Royal Ascot, I mean, I can't even imagine. You're all dressed up in your beautiful top hat, and you've got the tails and everything, and just what does happen? I should ask that. I want to live a little bit more vicariously through you. So when your horse wins there, what is the protocol? How going to the winner's circle enclosure? What happens afterward? For example, Breeders' Cup, we do a champagne toast. We take the connections in for a champagne toast.
Exactly the same. There's a private lounge underneath the stands. Yeah. You're in there and you wined and dined. You see a replay of the race. They do an official presentation of the trophy again, so you can have some other photographs with it. I mean, the trophy is amazing. I mean, it's change it. So that post-race stuff, I mean, we were in there. I mean, we were enjoying ourselves, and the staff were absolutely brilliant. We must have been there an hour, to be honest with you. And, And then I think the horse that won the next race only had like 3 people with it, so they didn't
Oh.
mind either. So we watched their race as well, but it was absolutely great. But I think when you digest what's gone on, I mean, the thing for me that evening is the trophy is a big silver. I could show it to you if you want to.
Show it to us. Yes, show it to us.
So,
Absolutely. I love that. Yes, please. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. We're going to see the Royal Ascot trophy from the Gr2 Norfolk, won by the Ridler. Again, speaking with his breeder and owner, Steve Bradley.
So there you go, guys.
Oh, wow. How
That's
cool.
what you get. So we get to keep that for a year, and then obviously we have to give it back. And then if we want to, as Jarrads, who are the Queen's jewelers, we can apply and pay for a replica, which may well happen. But what brings it home to me, Ren, this is the base. You start looking at this, right?
Yeah.
And you look at the horses gone before him, Dutch Art, Dandyman, No Nay Never, Sioux Nation. And I'm thinking, well, hang on, have we got a horse that good? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, that's just, it really is. It feels like you have won a piece of history, and now you are literally going to be engraved into it. I can't even imagine. I really can't. And it's just so great to see people who have this actual, true, passionate love for the sport succeed.
Well, people have been racing for that at Ascot for 200 years, because it was first of all called the New Stakes. Then the Duke of Norfolk died, so they named it after him, because he was Mr. Ascot for about 40 years.
Right.
And it's history. And there are people in the UK and who have thrown millions trying to get horses to win that, and they've never even touched it. And we pop along as ordinary folks. We got a cheap mare. She's produced a couple of coats, and one of them's good enough to go and win it, which is surreal, really.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I think there's a movie here somewhere. It's not a story. I think it's a movie.
I think it's a movie too. Let's do it.
Well, especially if we've got the Breeders' Cup as well. It's got to be a movie, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. We have to have that beautiful culmination there at the World Championships, Keeneland, everybody dressed up, and here comes this face down the stretch. And that would be amazing. See, this is what I love. Everybody, we can go back and we can watch this interview after everything has commenced. November 4th is Future Stars Friday. And it'll be fun to look back on. And
we're going to be there, definitely.
Oh my gosh, no, I know. And you're going to have to that's one of my other duties for Breeders' Cup. So I go, and ahead of the actual running of the races on Friday, and that week, my friend Ern and I, we go to the barns, we do pre-interviews, we put them together in little packages for Breeders' Cup social media, and we broadcast those over their different platforms. So we're going to have to come and get that inside scoop from you on how your horse is actually coming into the race. And then afterward, we do the post interviews too. So
that's the one.
Now we've already got the familiarity. So it'll just be like, hey, old friend, what's going on? It's great to see you again.
Yeah. And the thing is, we did quite well last year with the European Raiders. I think they won about six of the races, didn't they?
Yeah, well, it was incredible. And then Japan, the Japan.
There you go.
And that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Japan is all down to a horse that the US breeders didn't want, didn't it? Sunday Silence.
Don't you? When you look at that, that's one of the biggest. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those situations where we really dropped the ball, right? I mean, in a number of ways with Sunday Silence, but it was all for, I guess, ultimately good, because he has just sired this giant dynasty.
Absolutely. And I mean, having said that, they scoured the world buying him the best bridesmaid, didn't they?
They did. Well, it's so smart what they've done. I mean, they buy a lot of our best race mares. They take them back over. But the Sunday Silence thing that always struck me is that people doubted him at every stage. He was an RNA, and Charlie Whittingham's like, okay, well, we'll race him, and he just ended up being this superstar. And it was kind of tough because I was a giant fan of Easy Goer as well, but I also love Sunday Silence. So you watch that Preakness Stakes. It's one of the most thrilling duels to the wire I've ever seen. And because you didn't want either of them to lose. But
he only finished up with Charlie Whittingham because Arthur Hancock couldn't sell him.
yeah,
And that's what he went to and said, Charlie, do us a favour, take this horse. And if you read Charlie's book, which I've done a few times, absolutely incredible. And then, when it came to syndicate him, he had cow hocks, so the breeders weren't too keen on him. I think Arthur Hancock, I think, sold 3 or 4 shares out of 40 that he had to sell. And then the Japanese came in then with a mega offer, the Yoshida family.
yeah.
And, that's it. I mean, it wasn't big. Well, it was big money at the time, but I mean, it wasn't mega money,
Right. And now look.
And the next thing, he started a whole dynasty. He's started a dynasty, isn't he?
And it's just remarkable. It really is. That halo line through. A lot of people don't even realize that a horse like him, and that with Halo, Northern Dancer, they don't understand those studs. Halo, Northern Dancer, they're from the same female family, so it's Kazakhbana and Natalma, half sisters. So
well, Halo was rescued out of South America, wasn't he, where he did his racing,
Oh, I heard he had an awful temperament, though, right?
Well, if he's that good, he's entitled.
No, right, exactly.
He's a bad horse.
You can take a few bites if you. But no, it is truly remarkable. And then over there, I would say, when we look at what's happening in breeding from afar, it looks to us that Frankel has really delivered for you guys over there.
Yes.
And it's always even more special when it's a horse who seems to be an heir to the throne, for him to have the success he has. Do you have any Frankels?
No, I've got a Kingman mare who's a very nice mare, but it's but the horse for me in my lifetime, Frankel is on the block now, but it has to be Galileo, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, it's I don't think we'll ever see another horse like that. And I mean, he's still as potent now on the racetrack as he was when he was a young horse.
Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah, and our Galileo mare, she's had a nice 4x2 Dan Hot. And she's backing full to him as well. So fingers crossed.
No,
might be another Breeders' Cup horse there then, yeah?
Yes. Okay, and we've already got the buzz on that horse now because it is the Future Stars forecast, right? So I always love that. I will say one of the greatest chills I ever had with a horse from over there was, when just seeing. How do I even put it? Because it was just one of those special moments. I'm trying to think if I even have a picture here, but I don't think I do. Hold on 1 second while I look this up.
We've got a horse, while you're doing that, we've got a horse running tomorrow by Dandy Man. He runs over in Carlisle. It's only his second run. He's a 2-year-old.
Really?
But, he's actually a full brother to a horse called River Boy, who we had racing in the States.
Yes. I know that horse.
River Boyne is now back in Ireland at Tara Stud, but we've got his full brother, which we bought at the sales.
Oh wow, that's so exciting! And it's just one of those things. Like, I forget who actually coined the phrase, but when you have a young horse, it's just like hope springs eternal. Because you just never know, right? But I can't find what I'm actually looking for, so I'll just recount the story. So the Breeders' Cup, you're talking about Galileo. Well, his son Nathaniel is the sire of Enable.
Yeah.
So like Enable, she had won the Arc, and then they brought her over and she won the Turf, and they were leading her out of the Winter Circle enclosure, and as being part of the media, I was able to be like right there. And I swear, when she walked by, we had a connection. We did an eye to eye, and I got chills, and I was able to actually capture it on video. It's on my social media. I'll have to like re-up it at some point. But she was just extraordinary.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, what a horse for her, and the connection obviously that she had with Frankie Dettori was so special. And when a horse like that retires, it's kind of tough. I was rooting so hard for Stradivarius.
Yeah, but it's it's the Enable was absolutely special. But
Yeah.
to keep her in training, a fair play to Prince Khalid Abdullah for doing that, because
Yes.
a lot of people would have got her off to the breeding sheds and she wouldn't have won a second heart, you know.
No,
But it's
and
but yeah,
she was bred to Kingman.
yes. Well, Nathaniel has sired this year's Derby winner, hasn't he? The
Yeah.
horse that won the Derby a couple of weeks back.
It's remarkable. And I mean, when you're also talking about inbreeding, she's another example of that, because with the Sadler's Wells doubled up because of being by Nathaniel and then out of a Sadler's Wells mare herself. So it is interesting. It's very much a nuanced thing where you want to try to get the potency, but you don't want to overdo it. So,
Exactly. And I
but
think in Ireland, we've got Jim Bolger, who did a lot of that. He was leading in terms of his Derby winners and tapping into Taproot or Blue Hen mares, and
it sounds to me, I mean, you really do have a passion for every aspect of racing, because you've got the whole Tessio.
well, yes, the stakes. I mean, you could never do what he did, and on the budget he had, Rebo was, number one, and then of course, you had Nasrullah and all the rest of it from
Yeah,
there, didn't you? Yeah,
it's
fantastic.
it's just remarkable, and I always do love. I love how he talked about how the thoroughbred is to make it short. Basically, the thoroughbred is defined by the winning post of the Upsom Derby.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was at that time, and then you look at other horses that have won it, and it's like this, and then when I looked at it earlier, and you look at the plinth on this and say, well, no, nay, never, Dandy Man, Dutch Art, is our horse in the same league as that? But he is, because they won the same race.
Oh
But
my
it's
God.
incredible, absolutely. But as we say, in the beauty of the bloodstock business, as I said to you earlier, we've had emails from a lot of really nice people with really big studs. One of them in Ireland, and I won't name the stud, but they were saying, thank you very much for the success with the Ridler. Our invincible spirit half sister, a Colorado, is very, very happy. Thank you very much. And I replied back and I said, that's the beauty of the bloodstock business. It's how
Yeah.
we help each other. And to quote the song, everyone's a winner,
I love that. I love that. And I've had so much fun just getting to know you. I think, I don't know if I mentioned during the course of this show, but I did mention it before we started at the very least, that you're my first guest on the Future Stars forecast who's actually based in the UK. Everybody I've ever had on here is, are American connections, trainers, breeders, owners. So for me, this is a thrill to get the insight from somebody actually based there who loves it so passionately and understands it from so many different angles. Because again, it's great when you're able to talk to an owner. I mean, we're thrilled for anybody who wins a race of this prestige, and especially when it's a Breeders' Cup win and you're in. But there's also something all the more poignant when you've actually bred the horse yourself.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is, and not only that, there's so other people involved that get credit as well. Because it's I don't have a stud farm, and I've purposely avoided that. But if you look at the credits after the race, it's raised and grazed at the National Stud. And it's as you say, everybody's having a share of the success, aren't they? You're spreading the love, so to speak. Then which is fantastic.
Well, this has been fantastic. Again, I can't thank you enough for taking time out this evening to share your story with us, to let us enjoy and share in the excitement over the Riddler. What again, movie could be
Yeah,
made. Forget the actual Batman. And when he goes to stud, how much fun can people have with his progeny, naming them?
absolutely,
You've
absolutely.
got a whole.
Yeah, yeah. And the question is, will they have the reverse question mark on their heads? He
Well, like
might he might stamp all his stock in a particular way.
that would be so great. That would be great. I'm all for it. I'm already projecting years into the future that we're going to see the progeny of the Riddler and be naming them things
Oh,
that have to do with Gotham and Batman.
yeah, Well, to have him as a stallion, I mean, be absolutely incredible. And it's he's a horse that would do really. I mean, Luke de Vega with his mother,
Yeah.
he's turning in to be one of the best
Oh
breeding
yeah.
stallions. Absolutely incredible. Um, and I Am Invincible, who's Brazen Bow's dad, can't do anything. Well, couldn't do anything wrong in Australia, and Brazen Bow is there as well. It also raises an interesting question as to where we go with him next year, because I know Richard Fahey tried Perfect Power in the 1,000 Guineas, which is the 2,000 Guineas, sorry, which is our first classic for coats. Well, although Brazen Bow was a 6.5 furlong horse, there's plenty of stamina on the dam side. So this guy could well have the potential to get to the mile and possibly look at the classics.
Well, yeah, and it's such an international pedigree because, like you said, you not only have the mix of the speed and the stamina. I think one of the things people forget about that the Broodmare sire, his own sire, Shamar Dal. I mean, that horse was out of a full by Giant's Causeway and out of a full sister to our Street Cry, and so it's just kind of like there's just so much flavor to this pedigree in so many different dynamic ways. So you've got so many options, and that's why I'm rooting all the harder because I am a pedi geek and I love this stuff, and I love seeing again people who don't take it for granted really and truly understand how the odds are always stacked against you in racing to have a horse of this caliber, and here you've done it, and I'm thrilled for you.
And next up, Breeders' Cup then, isn't it?
Next up, Breeders' Cup. That's right. And yeah, I think you should come on over early. Come out for the September sale.
Yeah. Okay.
And then stay on, go to Florida, like you said, then come for the championships, stay for the breeding stock sale, and just have a ball here in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
All right.
Absolutely.
Again.
Well,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just a couple of extra things off the bucket list, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I say that you've got this. It's almost like the golden ticket, right? To go and just have a blast, make it as memorable a trip as possible. And who knows, you may pick up your next mega star. Well, maybe not down the road because you already have some in the pipeline, but going forward that you can.
Oh, absolutely.
That we can say we saw when you actually bought that horse. We were there at the sale. I was there when they bought Flightline. Our American horse Flightline. Yeah, I was at the a sale for that, and it was pretty remarkable now to look back on that, and now what he's accomplished, still being undefeated, multiple Grade 1 winner, and one of the most exciting horses that we have in training. So you just never know, right? It's fun to say you were there when.
Yeah, the only one I could do with that, I was at the sale in Newmarket when Vaguely Noble was sold, and then he went on and he finished up with American Owners, isn't it? Dr. Franklin. Yeah. And then he went to won the Prix de l'Arc. The only race he could win to pay for himself was the Prix de l'Arc.
I love it though, right? Yeah. That's the thing that we put forward all this money, and with Flightline, for example, being $1 million yearling, you're hoping the investment's going to prove sound, and so far, I mean, this is a horse for us in the States that I spoke with his one of his owners, Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds, on the show last week. And it's just so cool to have a horse, and again, with people who really and truly you want to root for, being at the top of the game like this with a horse who is undefeated, and does it with such ease. That's the thing too, because did you watch the Met Mile yourself? Like, how closely do you watch the racing here in America?
I've seen most of the Breeders' Cup ones as they're shown in the UK, because we get a full TV coverage over the Friday and the Saturday then, yeah? Okay. I mean, there are certain races where we tend not to focus too much on the dirt races, but all the turf races, absolutely, yeah.
Well, with Flightline, he just ran recently in the Metropolitan Handicap, which dirt race, win in you're in for the dirt mile. But he actually broke slow from the gate. Then he had to navigate around some other horses. He couldn't get his running room. And this was a field that all except one horse were all Grade 1 winners. And he basically had given them a head start. He eventually came out around, got the lead, drew off. like it was nothing. It was just sensational to watch. And he was actually bred by Jane Lyon, who owns Summer Wind Farm, who she has American Pharoah's dam, Little Princess Emma, over there.
She's got a meal ticket there, then, doesn't she?
Well, she has so many great horses. She already has some of the nicest stock you could hope to have there at Summer Wind. And she's somebody also, she just loves these horses. She's there when they're born. She's drawing them off herself and just really partaking in the whole experience of it. And it's thrilling to watch. And oh, by the way, for the viewers out there, if you're curious, Little Princess Emma, I believe I saw is in foal to Gun Runner. So that's exciting. But yeah, as far as going back now, the Ridler, we're going to see him at the Breeders' Cup. I am so thrilled, by the way, that you guys were already all in for that, because sometimes when the horses win a win and you're in there in Europe, we don't know. We don't know.
Would somebody actually say no then? You approach somebody and say you're in it to win this. They don't, can't believe that.
You just don't know sometimes if they're going to, and it's just like, man, if I punch that ticket, I'm going.
Yeah.
Going. So I love, because I had seen on your. Oh, by the way, do you want to tell people how to follow you all and follow the journey on social media?
You can follow that on the Bloodstock Brads, yeah. Which is, are you going to put a link out on that at the end?
You know what? I can do that. Hold on a second. Let's see here. Give me a second, and I can go.
Actually, my son, it's only a time thing that he's got more time than I have to do the social media. But I should say as well, if people are going to look for us, I race as Steve Bradley, but the breeding operation runs under the name of Smarden Thoroughbreds.
Okay. Oh, how did you come up with that?
It's a village down in Kent, and there's a lady I've shared horses with for about 10 years. And she has bits of interest in one, and I have a majority interest in most of them. So, but so we've done that for ages. But we race under Steve Bradley, but it's Smarden Thoroughbreds on the. So you see there, if you look at it, people will see Smarden Thoroughbreds as a breeder.
Yeah.
But it's still me.
It's still you. Oh, got it. Yeah, and it's at Bloodstock Brads on Twitter there, and I believe you also have an Instagram. And so people can just follow the journey there with you. Yeah. See, there's publicizing our little chat today. And I love this. We are now on a journey into uncharted territory. We were very confident he would win today, but he now has a Breeders' Cup entry. I love that.
Fantastic. And if you go back to the very top bred of that, that's the Ridler's older brother, Dylan de Vega.
Oh, is he beautiful?
That's what he was in. And I think that's a year, I think Wesley Ward actually won the Windsor Castle that year. But that's a nice looking horse, but he's by a different stallion. He's not got the physicality of the Ridler. He's more compact,
Yeah, but still just beautiful. These boys have incredible eyes on them. I'm going to actually, because I can't resist. I love this horse's head. I love his head. It's just beautiful. It's very noble. It's very noble.
He's got a little bit of a Roman nose.
Yes, he looks like a war charger.
But his dad does that. That's a Brazen Bull characteristic. He's got a Roman nose. So you can see that there.
He's just beautiful. And again, just giving credit where credit's due. That picture is from Allie. You can see that on Twitter at Fluffy Pickle. I don't know if I want to eat a fluffy pickle, but I like fluffy pickles on Twitter. Again, beautiful horse, and you can already see she's got a ton of love on that. 240 legs. Let's see here. I'll go back to where we were without sharing the screen, because we do have somebody saying thank you. Thank you so much, Stephen Ren. Great conversation. Much enjoyed here in Dorset. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so you got a UK audience as well now, yeah?
Yeah, well, it's fun. We've gotten people from all over watching, from Middle East, from South America. Yeah, that's the beauty of horse racing, right?
Yeah, and we've still got another 6 months of the year to go, haven't we?
We do, and it's just so exciting. So yes, I look forward to seeing more from the Ridler. We're going to see him again running in France. Je parle français un peu, but I don't speak it very well. So hopefully you'll have fun there for the
So
pre-morning. Sorry, go
so
ahead.
we're off to Deauville, yeah,
Yes.
or Deauville.
Deauville.
Yeah.
Yes, it'll be another experience. Have you run there before? Have you been there before?
No, we're there for the sales in August. I got a nice yearling being sold there in August. He's with Lamotta Hay, who are consigning him. And I've got two mares in Harrestithenne, which is a stud farm in Deauville.
Wow.
So, because you'll understand the French premiums and everything, which are far greater than you get breeders' premiums in the UK, yeah?
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, because you get a premium if horse wins the race, even if you just bred it and you've sold it on. They can be up to 30-40% of the prize money.
Wow, that is an incentive, I would say. That's incredible. And wow, wow. Well, you're gonna be globetrotting. Uh,
Okay.
and so, yeah, it's funny. We do have a restaurant here. I think it's called Le Devauville. Deveau. I can't even speak right now. Deville. There we go. You're in
So,
Lexington.
so I've already blanked my calendar out for a week in Breeders' Cup, but it looks as though
That's
it's going to be
right.
a bit. It's
You
going to
have
be a
friends here
bit.
now. You
Yeah,
have
yeah.
friends here. I mean, I'm sure you already did within the industry, but now you have more friends here as
Okay.
well. And I look forward to meeting you in person, Steve. Thank you again so
All
much
right.
for your time. We're looking forward to so much more with you, Brad. Yeah, your Bradley Bloodstock operation itself, because it sounds like you have some really impressive horses coming down the pike. And I'm going to let you have the last word here.
Well, just, we're on our way. Everything's ready. We're all primed. We won't be bringing our Ascot suits, but we'll be coming to the Breeders' Cup.
We look forward to having you here. Thank
All
you
right.
so much. Everybody, this has been your Future Stars forecast on this 2-year-old Tuesday. Join me here next week, tentatively scheduled. Todd Pletcher. We'll talk to you later here on the Future Stars forecast.